What is up, fight fans? We are coming to you here with the MMA plug presented to you by Mile High Sports. We are live from the number 38 presented to you by Volo. If you are interested in any sort of those adult recreational activities, flag football, intramural basketball, dodgeball, softball as the spring season comes up, make sure that you check out Volo for all of those recreation needs. They've got pretty much something for everybody out there. I'm Jordan Kurtz. You can give me a follow along online at Comments from the Peanut Gallery. I got my man, Danny Bailey, behind the boards, holding it down for me, as always, each and every week. Make sure that you give Mile High Sports a follow wherever it is possible. There's tremendous things going on right now in the Mile High City for sports. It is the best sports city in the nation right now, folks. Again, give the Mile High Sports crew a follow. Especially want to give a shout out to my man, Cody Work, crushing it with the Broncos coverage right now. The Broncos are 12-2. They have the best record in the NFL as they go full steam ahead toward the postseason. Your boy is also in the championship for his fantasy football league, so send that good juju and those good vibes my way. We have the Avalanche sitting atop of the NHL with a 23-2-7 record. You also have the Denver Nuggets crushing it right now at 18-6. They're the number 2 team in the Western Conference. Make sure that you check out the Mile High Sports Network wherever it is possible, wherever it is the magazines, the website, the podcast side of things. There is also merchandise available on demand. If you come down here to the number 38 and check out some games, there's TVs all over the place. There's great food. It's a tremendous atmosphere to come down and watch some sports. Like I say, there is merch available. If you want some of that, there is the signature Nikola Jokic Joker tee. There is the Denver Broncos Barrel Man tee and a couple of other novelty designs that you could pick up at your convenience. That is, again, like, share, and subscribe across the Mile High Sports Network wherever it is possible. Now, the Colorado Rundown, we have one show left for this 2025 frame. That's Colorado Combat Club that is going down this weekend at the Stampede. It's going to be a massive card, folks. We've got 16 fights on the schedule. We're going to run through that bout order here in just a couple of minutes. We've also got our 2 participants of that main event fight who will be joining the program throughout the next hour. You have Xavier Vasquez as well as Josh Mercado, both going to be hopping on the show. Real quick, though, want to give a quick recap of the action over the weekend that happened with the UFC as well as 5280 Muay Thai Fight Series. In the UFC, it was a heartbreaker for us on the home front as Manel Kape won in the main event. The real steal of the show, or the real breakout star, if you will, I feel like is Kevin Vallejos, who knocked out Giga Chikadze by that spinning back fist off of the missed kick. Man, was that vicious. You had Milky Costa, who, in my opinion, got robbed of a bonus. That walk-off head kick that he had to Charrier, I mean, what else do you need to do to be able to get a bonus? That is about everything possible that you could have possibly asked for. Hopefully they take care of him on the back end there with one of those locker room bonuses. Steven Asplund, one of the heavyweights, he went in there and he won by standing TKO, butchered his opponent's face. I mean, if you follow the UFC doctor online, you saw some of the cuts that he delivered to his opponent. And even more than the powerful performance that he gave was a more empowering speech in the octagon post-fight. If you haven't checked that out, please do so. It's definitely a great message out there. And then also want to throw a shout out to my homegirl, the queen of TikTok, Luana Santos. She picked up a big victory over another former LFA standout in Melissa Croden. Hard-fought battle between the two of them there. I think that 35 is now going to be where Luana calls home. She's got a couple of medical things that she's having taken care of, and I think that we will continue to see her at 135 pounds. Switching gears over into 5280, just to give a shout out real quick. We had a great 2025 year for 5280 Muay Thai Fight Series, Colorado's only all Muay Thai exclusive promotion. That also went down over at the Stampede. Want to give a congratulations to Javon Dale out of Prodigy House Muay Thai. Picked up a ISK state title in the process. Now, I do have to say that I hope that there is a highly anticipated matchup out there with a young man named Joshua Thomas. There's been some things that have gone on back and forth between the couple of camps. I think that this fight at this stage absolutely has to happen. This is something that needs to go down. These two need to get in there and they need to exchange the art of 8 limbs. Based off of everything that's gone on and all the stuff that's gone back and forth, like Mike Tyson said, sign the contract, big boys. Real quick, want to give a shout out also to the Denver Foos for all of the work that they're doing in the community right now, especially during the holiday season. The holidays are tough for a lot of people, but all of the things that Benny and Abe are out there in the community doing, they are boots on the ground absolutely everywhere, event after event after event, putting on for the community. They're a part of multiple holiday drives that are happening for the youth out there in the greater Denver area. So again, just want to give a big shout out to those guys. You could check out where some of their big philanthropy efforts are going on right now. If you check out Denver Foods 303 on Instagram or on the different social platforms. Again, they're doing tremendous things out there for the community. Another big shout out that I want to give is to QMP Co. QMP Co does a lot to take care of me as well as a lot of the fighters out there in the community. This weekend on Friday night, they have the Aslan's Toys for Kids drive that is going down Friday at 5 p.m. I believe that's when the donation drive starts. That is going down at the Aslan Rec Center, which is located at 4435 Navajo Street here in Denver, Colorado. They're giving back to the community. They're trying to help the youth out there. There's some guys who grew up in those same communities who are now saying, hey, we have the opportunity to give back and to put on for the next generation. We are going to do so at every chance that we have. Jorge's a great dude. I mean, he supports us all across the board with things that we do here at Mile High Sports with the MMA plug. He is out there at MMA events or our combat sports events. So I want to give a big shout out to those guys as well in the process. This weekend, if you come and check out that toy drive, you also are going to see a couple of familiar faces in attendance. There's going to be UFC fighters out there like Brandon Raw Dog Royval, as well as Macy the Future Barber. So come and check that out. If you have the opportunity or if you can spare some donations in the process, please do so. That's something that I think is a big thing for all of those involved. And your support is also greatly appreciated in the process. We're going to do a quick little preview of Colorado Combat Club 27 before we get into the thick of things and start interviewing our main event and both of our main event participants for the weekend. As mentioned, that main event is going to be Xavier Vasquez and the Relentless Josh Mercado. That's a banger matchup, folks. I mean, that is two guys who have a great deal of experience that we're going to talk a little bit more with them specifically, so we won't get as deep into that matchup right here. But following that, in the co-main event, two flyweights who have a ton of experience out there. You have Alex, the Puerto Rican Demon Rigo, taking on Mario Suazo. Mario Suazo, he shared the cage with Joshua Van, the current UFC flyweight champion. They fought on a Fury card out here in Denver some time ago. Used to also be in the same gym with each of these guys at one point in time. I like them both. They're both good dudes. There are some contrasting styles out there. Rigo is much more on the grappling side of things. He's going to use more of like a wrestle jitsu sort of style in the process, whereas Mario loves to go out there and just scrap. Mario is a brawler with a hard head who is hard to put away, and I think that this is going to be a very exciting matchup in that co-main event slot for this fight. The next matchup, you have a couple of guys who are also representing that flyweight division. I believe that this might end up being at a catchweight, if I'm not mistaken. However, this is Juan Rosales taking on Jay Ponder. Both of these guys have been veterans for us in the Colorado Combat Club cage. These guys are fast. There's going to be a pace between the two of them. It is a bit of a contrast in terms of their physical build. Jay Ponder is certainly going to have the height and the reach advantage. But in terms of some of the technical grappling aspect, I think that you're going to see an advantage from Juan Rosales. Jay Ponder, though, if he starts to let his hands get going, then he could also very well be a problem. The way that he can also deliver that knee right up the middle, that could pose a threat for the wrestler or for somebody who is trying to get in on those grappling fit-ins the way that Juan Rosales may choose to do so. The next matchup is another one that I am really excited to see. You have Tommy Lozano, who is coming off of a flying knee knockout in his last fight. He's taken on London Thomas. London Thomas at one point in time was a D1 level wrestler, Iowa State type of guy who ended up pursuing other ventures. But he is a kid who is participated in high-level wrestling from the time that he was a kid. Tommy Lozano, on the other hand, you're talking about a dude who is just dog tough. I mean, he is tough as an old leather boot. He wants to go in there. He wants to scrap. He's a veteran of the Colorado Combat Club cage just the same. So I'm really looking forward to what Tommy and London bring to the cage for us in that fight right there. That is the last of our pro fights on the card. The remainder of the card is going to be some high-level amateur matchups, including a title fight that's going down in that next scheduled bout between Therius Robinson, who is taking on Tristan No Comparison Harrison. Tristan is making his Colorado Combat Club debut, but he has a ton of experience otherwise, a lot of striking specialist events. And on the flip side, Therius is a veteran of the Triple C cage. He has fought his way to be able to get into this position by beating a couple of tough opponents in the process in Juan Sarios as well as Tyree Wolfork. He's a former D1 wrestler himself. As fast of a level change as you will see. Both of these guys, I did an interview with them that you could go and check out on the Colorado Combat Club YouTube page. They're ready to fight. I promise you, there's going to be no shortage of action between the two of them. And if you've ever seen a weigh-in or a face-off with Therius, it is going to be fireworks from the very get-go. Next matchup from that, you have a couple of welterweights, guys with some experience underneath their belts. You have Joachim Dever, who has taken on Jack Gurton, who back in the day when I knew him, when he was at Factory X before he moved down to Colorado Springs and is now at Says MMA, we all call him Gentry. Gentry is a kid who's been training for a long time. He's got a lot of skill. He's got a great camp behind him. But on the flip side, Joachim is a problem. Joachim trains with the Subhounds as well as gets some work in over there with the Genesis crew. These are two guys who are battle-tested. They're pretty much on that edge or on the cusp of potentially going pro within these next couple of fights, or you could very well see a pro debut in the next year of 2026. A matchup that you certainly don't want to miss. The following fight, you have an amateur Muay Thai bout. It's our only Muay Thai bout that's going down in the cage for this one. You have Anthony Martinez, who has taken on Braden Rico. I tell you what, Anthony Martinez brings some energy. He's a native. He comes out full headdress with the full song and dance in the process of his walkout. I think that he is going to come out there and show leaps and bounds of improvement, even from the last time that we had him fighting for us. And yeah, that's the art of 8 limbs. What more can you want? Pure violence in the process. There's a couple of matchups that are here on the card in the next 2 slots that it's a 155-pound title eliminator situation. The winner of each of these 2 bouts will go on to face each other on a future card to fight for that coveted 155-pound lightweight title that has been held by a couple of different champions who we've had here on the show, like Miguel Barrientos. We've also had guys like U.S. World Team member Nick Tarpley, who has held that title, as well as a very tough Robert Skorheim out there. You know, there's been a lot of great champions that we've had at 155. Oh, yeah. Mind you, UFC fighter Markel Medeiros also capped off his amateur career by winning the Colorado Combat Club 155-pound title. The first matchup of those 2 is going to be Lorenzo Lolo Grigio, who is taking on Justin Orr. Justin Orr has some experience underneath his belt. Lorenzo has been a guy who went on a tear throughout 2025, has just lit up the competition in the process. He is a very highly touted prospect. He is underneath the tutelage and is the prodigy of Yusuf Zalal. So you could expect to see Yusuf there. If you know anything about who Yusuf brings along, you know that they're going to be well prepared for battle in that process. The next fight, you have Jordan Miles taking on Kajatola Husseini. Both of these guys had a shakeup with their opponent. Jordan Miles was originally supposed to face a different guy. Well, his opponent ended up having to pull out last second due to some health reasons. Same thing with Kadra's opponent. Kadra was supposed to fight somebody who was also a touted prospect in the mix for this 155-pound division, had an injury, not able to participate. Well, the only sensible thing is we run them together against each other. And what I love about this kid, Kajatola Husseini, was his coach, who I'm also friends with, Tanner the Freeze Fuji, starts sending him the message initially like, hey, like, even though you're old, matchup fell through, we just got a new offer. Before Tanner was able to finish writing his second message following up, Husseini says, I'm good, coach. I'm ready. I'm fine. Let's go. This kid is a gamer through and through. He loves to scrap it out. He's one of those guys who, as I'm told in the gym, at times they got to say, hey, man, you got to take care of your toys. On the flip side, Jordan Miles has had a highlight reel knockout for us in the Colorado Combat Club cage a couple of years ago. He's looking to come back in the mix and put his name in the hat for that 155-pound title. That is a banger matchup between two guys who love to strike, and you might see some spinning stuff in the process. Next matchup from there, we have Nathan Mata taking on Jason Avalos. Then the following matchup is a kid who we've had in the 5280 ring before, who he comes from an entire family of fighters. Both of his brothers are very tried and true professionals now at this stage. And then this young man is making his way rising up through the ranks, and that's Ilyas Okazri. They call him Smiley. He's facing Ty Durham. I look for that to be a high-paced, high-skilled matchup between a couple of guys who are ready to get after it. Then we have a girl fight. We have Kyra Dial taking on Katie Shermer. Kyra has been another one who has competed across multiple different disciplines over the last year. She's competed across a couple different platforms as well in the process. Know Kyra really well. She's awesome. I don't know Katie personally, but I do know that once they get locked in the cage, it's going to be a scrap between the two of them. Kyra has collegiate wrestling experience, and I expect her to bring the pace in this matchup here. Just a couple of more to talk about here on the card before we get to our first guest of the show in Xavier Vasquez. Rounding out the card, we have Juan Vargas taking on Abraham Sanchez. You also have Kelsey England, who is going to be taking on Melody Flores. Next matchup from that, we've got Alex Rodriguez, who will be taking on Bradley Navarez. And then opening up the card, we have a couple of guys who have, one of them has some MMA experience. The other one is making his MMA debut, but I've had the chance to call fights for each of them in different realms, albeit in the Muay Thai cage, or excuse me, in the Muay Thai ring. And I've also gotten trained with one of them. That's Pedro Lopez. Pedro Lopez is coming out of Factory X. He's taken on Luis Rogel, who is coming out of Havoc MMA. Coach Rich and the Havoc crew over there in Westminster, they're a newer camp, but they've got a lot of experienced bodies in the room. They've got some tremendous leadership around in the mix. They've got some good things that are going for them out there. On the flip side, Pedro Lopez also trains with a stable full of killers down there in Englewood at Factory X. Pedro is very hungry to go out there and get a win in his MMA debut. He's been scheduled for a couple of fights leading up to this that have unfortunately fell through, all for reasons that were outside of his control. I know that he is chomping at the bit to be able to go out there and announce his presence with authority on the MMA scene once those cage doors get locked, opening up the show, jerking the curtain on Saturday. Guys, tickets are still available right now on Purple Pass. You just have to search Colorado Combat Club 27. If you have the chance to get any of the fighters in the mix, or if you have the chance to get paper tickets from any of the fighters, that is going to be one of your best bets. That helps them with their commission. That also is something that saves you a couple of bucks of online fees. But again, you could always purchase the tickets directly online, or you can check out the pay-per-view stream if you're not able to make it there in attendance. Rounding that off, though, folks, that is, like I say, that is going to be going down at the Stampede this weekend. That is doors cracking at 12. Fights are going to be starting at 1. Danny, do we have Xavier queued up yet?
No, we're still waiting.
Still waiting? Okay, so just talking about that card real quick before we move along to Xavier in the process. Guys, if we encourage you, please take pictures, share it out there. We're happy to engage with you in the process. We will also have a Grinch out there in the crowd who's taking pics. That same Grinch was there for the 5280 card over the last weekend, and it was a great thing. We're a family-friendly show. It is all ages going to be going down at the Stampede. That's over in Aurora, Colorado. That is at 2430 South Havana Street. Hopefully you have the chance to come out there and check out the show in person. Like I say, we've got 16 action-packed bouts that are scheduled for the card. I really hope that you have the opportunity to come and check that out with us, because This is going to be one hell of a way to cap off the action here for 2025. We've had great shows all throughout the year for Colorado Combat Club, and this looks to be one that rounds out that frame for 2025 as we build into momentum. And the next show will be going down on January 31st of this next year. One thing that I also want to give you a little preview and a teaser to in the process is we are going to be having an awards show that is happening on January 31st. Now, naturally, that will be available on demand following the show airing live, but we are going to have some fan choice categories. You can check out my Instagram comments from the Peanut Gallery, see what some of the different categories that we already have some nominees announced for. But again, that will be coming out on December 31st for New Year's Eve. As we go into the next year, that'll be the best of 2025 awards. It looks like we've got Xavier available now here. X, how you doing, my man?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much for taking the time and joining us here on the MMA Plug.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So just to give people a little bit of a rundown of who Xavier is going to be one half of our main event this weekend at Colorado Combat Club 27. He is representing Azteca Boxing Club. He's a former D1 wrestler out of UNC. He had a tremendous amateur run, and now he's an undefeated professional fighter. X, where can people follow you?
Instagram, X Vasquez 970. That's usually my social media, or add me on Facebook, stuff like that. So
awesome. Now, real quick before we get too deep into the thick of things, I just want to ask you, man. It's the holiday season. I know that there's a lot of good food and everything out there. How hard has it been to dial it in for camp, or for you, being that you've wrestled your entire life? Is it just another day in the office?
I usually stay pretty disciplined throughout the inside outside of camp, so not too much changes for me. Maybe my calories get a little restricted, or I stay away from a little more foods. But like around the holidays, I definitely cut down to how much I would eat compared to what I wanted to eat. So I mean, it's always hard, but I'm thankful to be able to get fight right before Christmas, so I get to enjoy that time with my family.
That's awesome. I mean, hey, go out there and have a big performance the way that you envision it on Saturday. That gets you that win bonus also in the pocket. We also have those Spartan Plumbing bonuses for finishes that are going out too. So that could always be something that's just a nice little extra razzle dazzle.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I want to ask you, my man, so as far as camp goes, how has everything been going throughout the lead up? Obviously you don't have to peel back the curtain too much on anything, but how's training been going so far for this matchup?
It's been going really good. I'd say over the last few months, I changed up my training a little bit. So I've been, down training. I'm usually at my gym Monday through Saturday now. I was driving to Denver, a couple days a week before, but now I'm driving down, Monday through Saturday. So it's something that I've gotten used to and accustomed to, and something I realized I needed to do for my career.
Gotcha. Where else have you been getting some work in?
So honestly, I trained Onyx Sports. I'm there 4 days a week, usually with coaches, Genesis, and obviously, I have my cousin back home in Azteca that, it's always there. He's always there whenever I need him as well. So, it's just putting everything together, getting the right people around me that I need in my corner and my team.
That's great to hear. Now, have there been any sort of specific changes or anything that you're doing specifically in your preparation, being that your opponent is coming from sea level?
No, I just keep doing what I do and trust my training, trust my coaches, trust everything, that all the hard work that I'm putting into, regardless of where my opponent's coming from or who he is. Just got to take every opponent seriously and, respect what he has to offer, and just go out there and do what I do.
That's awesome to hear right there. Now, what are some of your thoughts on Joshua Mercado?
I don't know too much about him. I know he's from Florida. He's game. He's very experienced and, respectful fighter. And I know he's going to bring it. He's coming down. He's taking it seriously. And it's something that I appreciate him taking the fight and, making the trip. And it's been hard to find fights around this area. So even though he came from Florida, I respect him for that already. And, it's like I said, I respect every opponent I have. And I know he's going to bring it, and I want to bring my best. So we'll see what he has.
Definitely. Now let's touch on that for a second here, because you did mention that you have had a little bit of frustrations with some matchups that have fell through or some dates that didn't necessarily materialize. What kind of goes through your head when, hey, you get all the way to the finish line, like it was for one of the matchups this last fall. It gets all the way basically to weigh-in day, and then things are off. What goes through your mind when that's the case?
It's very frustrating, but I'm surrounded by a good circle around me. I have very experienced people that are competing at the highest level and fighting world championships. And they say it's part of it. So you just always have to stay ready no matter what happens. So anything could happen, and they've just been a huge influence on my life to let me know, like, hey, man, this is part of the game. It's going to happen a lot. From the amateur scene to the regional scene to just all over the place. It's going to happen. So just be ready for anything.
Very well said there. You mentioned a couple of very prestigious camps from around in the area that you've been getting some work in with. A lot of very familiar names out there also that a lot of us here from the fight scene could probably recognize in the process, but who have maybe been some of those guys who have helped prepare you for this fight?
Grant Neal, one of my main training partners. He's my guy. He's one of the best fighters, around. I think Archie Colgan, Justin Gaethje, being around those guys and just consistently training with them and being along their side, just seeing how they work and, show me how to do things the right way and, just train my ass off all the time. And, Chris Camozzi, he's been around the fight game for a long time. Started working with him this camp. Coach Luke, and just all my coaches, Coach Salas, my cousin, my cousin's just more than a coach to me, but he does a lot. And, but I built a team around me that I feel that I've trusted. And, Coach Ben for my wrestling, I got coaches for everything, Coach T, Coach Jake. And it's a lot of people. It takes a village, and I have the right people around me. And I truly believe that, I have what it takes to one day be the best in the world. And I'm just going to keep approaching it one day at a time.
That's awesome. Now I'm going to peel the clock back here for you a little bit, but you wrestled at UNC. That's a wrestling program here in Colorado where we've had some guys who have gone on into the fight game and who have had some tremendous levels of success. Some of them being like Justin Gaethje, like you mentioned, and then also some guys who are still out there tearing up the wrestling scene, like the Young Alira's kid. What has that meant for you to come from a room like that just has a ton of talent that comes through?
Yeah, so like the older guys, such as like Gaethje, J Train, those guys, they came up and they made it to the big stage, and Gaethje's continuing and fighting for world championships, and J Train's still in it. Seeing those older guys see it set the stage for my teammates, and guys like Andrew Lear's it's like my brother, me and him are really close and we're family, and Zeke Lear's, we all came up wrestling, and it's cool to see, like, it makes it possible, like, hey, these guys could do it, why can't I do it? And so hopefully one day, I was watching Gaethje and J Chain fight when I was young and growing up, and I was like, I want to be like them. And now it's like, now I get to train alongside them and be with them while they're doing their stuff. So it's pretty cool to see, and it comes full circle, so I'm very grateful for it.
Obviously, you guys are much different weight classes, but we also have another guy who spent some time up there at UNC wrestling that's going to be on the card in Therius Robeson. Were you guys there at the same time at all?
Yeah. My boy Theo, that's my boy, and we spent some time together. We've kind of grew up together as well, so we've all been in the circle with it, and he's gonna be the real deal one day too. And seeing how just all of us that were on one team together have just grown up, and where we're at now, it's pretty awesome to see.
Definitely, man. Is that kid a spark plug of energy, huh?
Yeah, hey, he's the he's the life of the party, that's for sure.
Definitely. He'll be fighting for that title that's going down on Saturday against Tristan Harrison, folks. So make sure that you tune in for the entire card in the process. But circling back here for UX, how do you envision this fight playing out?
I just, I'm just gonna do what I do. I feel, my pace, my, my toughness, I'm just relentless, and I just keep going, and it's something that we talk about all the time is I have a gas tank. I think that has helped me throughout wrestling. It's something that's helped me push the pace to be able to, break people. And that's my plan, is just to enforce my will on somebody and to break somebody. And that's, hopefully what I see this fight.
Is there any message that you may have to go out to Josh Mercado?
No, man, I'm not really much of a talker. I like to let my, my work do the talking for me. And like I said, I respect him. He's game, and, I hope he brings his best stuff because I'm going to. And, I just appreciate him taking the fight.
Certainly. Now, you being the hometown fighter here, or the home state guy in the process, what kind of crowd are you expecting to bring on Saturday?
I have a great support system from all over. Where every time I fight, I have a big crowd. Everybody's like, "Hey, man, we see everybody in these X shirts, Team Basket shirts," and it's pretty cool to see. And I'll have a lot of family and friends there again, and just I'm very excited to perform in front of them. And because you never know how much longer I'll be able to fight on a regional scene like this and have the support that I have and quick access to get there before, one day we make it to the big stage and you won't have as many people be able to be there. So I'm soaking it all up and I look forward to it.
Definitely. Are you somebody who do you ride off of the energy of the crowd, or is it something that you kind of separate and completely block off?
I try to separate it and completely block it off just because, it's something you don't want to get too invested in it, but you always love it. You love to hear people cheering for you, yelling your name, and, you'd love to know who's there. But at the same time, it's like I'm there for one mission and I got to take care of business.
Definitely. Now, provided that things go your way on Saturday, what's next following that? Or are you not even thinking about what's next?
I'm not really thinking about what's next too far. I want to take it one fight at a time. And, I have big goals in my, in my head and big goals that my coaches and I talk about and like that we're going to be. But for now, it's like we can't look past anybody. I just got to go, take care of business one fight at a time.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to be excited to have you there in the Colorado Combat Club cage on Saturday. Folks, we're talking with Xavier Vasquez, who's going to be in the main event this Saturday. We've got just a couple of questions left here for you, X. Now, this is a couple of questions here that I think are kind of unique, that are very specific to each individual person and what their interpretation of it is, but it's a different answer every single time. That's why I like to ask it. Is there a song, maybe a quote, a lyric, a saying, maybe a Bible passage, anything along those lines that tells the tale of Xavier for this camp?
I don't really, man, I don't really have any, my motto is just like, the work's the work, man. And it's just kind of something that I'm just, I just like to outwork everybody and just make sure I'm the hardest work in the room everywhere I go. And it's something that I just, I'm grateful. I grew up, very humble and very just, we had to work for everything we had and fight for everything we had. So that's how I take every day. And, I'm grateful for the opportunities I get all the time. And so that's how I live my life.
Where does that grit and that work ethic come from? Does that come from like the wrestling foundation, or is that just family values, or a combination of each? Where does that come from?
I'd say it's a combination of each. My family values that we live by, and just wrestling, what wrestling made me, and like all the things that we've gone through in life, and to put me where I'm at. And so I take it one day at a time, and I'm just grateful for my family to install this hard work. You know what I mean? You have to outwork everybody, and you're not going to get anything if you don't work for it. Everybody has an opportunity, so you got to just go get it.
Tremendous message right there from Xavier Vasquez. Now, Xavier, I want to give you the opportunity right now to give a shout out to any friends, family, sponsors, teammates, coaches, anybody out there who you want to give that shout to.
Yeah, man, I got a huge, big circle of people I want to give a shout out to. I'll start with my coaches, obviously my cousin AJ, he does more than coaching for me. He's like, he's a mentor for me, and he's like, he plays a lot of different roles in my life, not just a coach. And he knows his place and what he does for me. So I, love him. Head coach Justin Salas puts in a lot of time with me. Coach Luke I've been working with, Coach Chris Camosi's been working with me, Coach T, Coach Jake, spend a lot of hours with me, and I'm grateful for all those guys over at Onyx and my training partners, everybody that, pushes me and helps me grind out. I love them. Coach Ben, can't forget him. And all my sponsors, I have a ton of sponsors, I would love to give them all shout outs, and just grateful for all of them that they allow me to do what I do, and they help me. It's not cheap being able to drive down to Denver every day and train, but they allow it and they help me out. Yeah, and just grateful for all my teammates and my family. So I appreciate it.
Lots of great shout outs right there. Yeah, I can totally relate to that. For the first about like year and a half that I was coming down here and training at Factory X, going from Fort Collins all the way down multiple times a week, I can totally relate to how much of a hassle that is being on the road that much. Not just the time in the car, that's about an hour and a half of driving in the process on a good day, but then having to deal with the traffic and having to deal with the extra expenses for fuel to vehicle maintenance to all that. So I can totally relate with everything that you're going through right there in the process. It's a testament to your dedication to your craft and just trying to grow and elevate in the process. So that's a kudos to you, my man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And Coach Tree, Coach Whitman told me the other day, we talked, and he said, you got to be obsessed with the sport. You got to be obsessed with everything you do. And, part of it is when you're driving alone in the car, you're obsessed, right? You're grateful to be able to do it. And now I love it. I look forward to driving down to practice every single day. It gives me time mentally to just think about everything. And that's what I do.
One last time, Xavier, where can people follow you?
X Vasquez 970 on Instagram and Twitter, and then Xavier Vasquez on Facebook.
Xavier, thank you so much for taking the time with us today. That wraps up our interview portion with you. I just want to say thank you once again for joining us here and giving some tremendous answers here in the process. We look forward to seeing the action here on the main event, folks. Pick up those tickets online at Purple Pass. If you have the chance to pick up any of those paper tickets from the fighters in person, please do so. That definitely helps them in the process. That is right there. That wraps us up. X, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I'll see you this weekend.
Absolutely. We'll see you on Friday. Yes, sir. All righty, guys, that tied it up right there for one half of our main event that's going to be going down on Saturday. That is, again, that's going to be at the Stampede, 2430 South Havana Street in Aurora, Colorado. We're just waiting here in just a couple of minutes for Josh Mercado to hop in on the interview chat for us. But again, want to say thank you to Xavier and his entire support system and crew out there for being able to make this interview happen. I know that these last couple of days for a lot of fighters, it's always a pain to kind of squeeze in some interviews. You're low on calories, lower on energy, just waiting to get that point to fight day. But both of our guys have been great with the communication and trying to make this happen here today. Also want to give a shout out to our head man and Eric Mitchell out there for helping line everything up in the process. It looks like we've got Josh in the mix. Josh, how you doing, my man?
Doing great. Just leaving the gym. Excited to be on here with you guys.
Awesome, folks. We have the relentless Josh Mercado. He had an extensive amateur career. Now he is a 3-1 professional fighter. He is training out of Kill Cliff when he's back home, but he's been out here in Colorado for the last, couple of weeks in the process, helping get acclimated to the altitude. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. And then I'm actually training at an MMA Science and Combat Club, as well as A&M Jiu-Jitsu up in Fort Lauderdale. You know what I'm saying? We're everywhere, down there. So we make it happen.
Nice. All over the place there for Josh. Now, I got to ask you, my man, how has camp been going, especially going through the travel, getting yourself up here to altitude? What has that been like?
Honestly, it's been great. I've been down here about 2 weeks already. I'm acclimated. I'm going to these different gyms. I'm training with these new bodies. It's good. I don't know if you guys know this, but I just came off like an 8-week camp. I was supposed to fight November 8th. So when I got this on 5 weeks notice, I took the first opportunity I could get, just so I could get something before the year ended. So yeah, it's going great. I'm excited to, be here in Colorado and put on a show.
Awesome. Well, we're grateful to have you in the process. What have been some of the highlights that you've had, I guess, while you've been out here in Colorado? I saw that you've gone on a couple of hikes, got to see a little bit of the sights out there. What's been some of the highlights for you?
I'd say going to I think it was Royal Arch Trail. That was pretty fun. That was like the toughest hike I went on. Went running out there. So again, getting used to the altitude. Yesterday I went to Garden of the Gods with the boys. My boy Justin and Andre, who train at high altitude. We went out there, another nice little hike. And I'm enjoying the scenery. We don't get much of these mountains and things like that up in Miami. So it's definitely different. But I'm enjoying my time here, training hard. We got to see, Trevor Whitman, Corey Sandhagen over at high altitude. So that was a good experience, and just, soaking everything in.
How's it been adjusting to the weather? Because obviously, man, Miami is not as cold as it is in Colorado like it is right now with this crazy winds that we have today.
The cold, the elevation, I just came back from New York probably 2 weeks before that. So I was kind of used to that. But because I was looking at ChatGPT, they're telling me it's going to be, 20, 30 degrees. I get here and it's in the 50s. So I'm like, all right, this ain't too bad. We had 1 or 2 cold days, but other than that, I've been layered up and enjoying it. Yeah, and just the altitude the first day, they said you're supposed to just, one, and I was pretty gassed. 2 days later, did the same thing again. I felt great, pushed through, and yeah, I'm ready to go, honestly.
Great to hear there. Great to hear. Now, what are your thoughts on Xavier Vasquez? I know that you've taken this, as you mentioned, on 5 weeks notice, but are there any thoughts on him as an opponent? Did we lose you?
Yeah, I think we lost him. I'm not sure. It says he's still in there, but
no video, and it doesn't seem like you can hear us, unfortunately.
Oh, there we go. We got you back, Josh.
Uh-oh.
We still there?
Yeah, signal.
Gotcha. Okay. So just asking you real quick, as long as we still have you in the mix, if anything doesn't cut out, what are your thoughts on Xavier Vasquez as an opponent?
Sorry, I'm dealing with my connection right now. Because I'm in the Uber.
Oh yeah, no worries. Totally understand. You're on the move, trying to make everything happen in these last couple of days before weigh-ins and everything go down. Do you have any thoughts on your opponent?
All right, hello.
Yeah, we got you there, Josh.
Hello.
We got you, Josh. Hello.
Yeah, the signal is shot right now.
Yeah, hey, no worries, my man. Totally understand as far as the technology issues go there. Can you hear me? All right, folks, that might have been the drop off there for Josh as far as the interview goes. We'll see if we can get him to pop back in here in just a second, though. But do also want to reiterate that you can pick up tickets for the fights on Purple Pass. You can also purchase them from fighters directly. That is going to be going down this Saturday at the Stampede. Doors are going to be cracking at 12. Fights are going to be starting at 1 o'clock. That is 2430 South Havana Street in Aurora, Colorado. Stampede is a tremendous venue to come out and watch some fights. It's there's really not a bad seat in the house. So don't get discouraged in the process. If you see that if there's maybe some seats that aren't cage side that are available, there's going to be good stuff all the way around there. Looks like we got Josh back in, or can you hear me, Josh?
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me, Bus? Do we got you? Yeah, I think that might be it for his signal there in the process, Danny. But all right, so guys, just want to move along here before we close out the program. We want to go through. We got Kurtz's message of the week. So there's been always across the board. You know, we're in the prove it business. We're in a show me type of industry. But the message for the week: don't be scared, homie. You can do all the talking, all the barking, all that yip yapping that you want. But at the end of the day, are you selling wolf tickets or are you ready to stand on it? Again, we're in the prove it business. If you're going to talk the talk, you've got to also be willing to walk the walk when you decide to go calling people out. Results are uncontrollable. Action and effort are something that you can control in the process. As we start to transition out into things here, let's see. Do we have a signal back with Josh just to wrap up with him? Josh, can you hear me? Nope, and he's out. Yeah, looks like it's it there. But guys, want to throw one final shout out for some philanthropy efforts out there to close out the program. We have the Guardian Project, which is aimed to provide jiu-jitsu for all. The mission of Guardian, as a 501c3 nonprofit organization, they are committed to providing free youth jiu-jitsu scholarships to underserved youth around the world. Guardian is dedicated to offering children year-round stability and consistency through their programs, focusing not just on physical transformation, but also on fostering friendships, mentorship opportunities, and a secure environment during the challenging times. By partnering with established and trustworthy academies, donors can trust that a minimum of 85% of their contributions directly fund the scholarships that they support. There are more than 390 underserved youth students that are currently fully sponsored around Guardian's 17+ projects around the world. You can check out factoryxmuaythai.com today to make your tax-deductible donation and help support a student in our community. We've got one segment left to close out the show. We've got 3 rounds with my man, Danny Bailey. First round, what do we have?
LFA will... Oh, sorry, I missed a line there. An announcement has been made that 5 of An announcement was made that 5 of the premier feeder promotions, including the LFA, will no longer be on UFC Fight Pass in 2026. Any thoughts?
I knew that this was coming. Their deal was up at the end of this year from once they signed on with Fight Pass after the Access TV situation went away back in the day. One major sticking point in the negotiation for potential renewal was IP. The UFC Fight Pass platform and then the future streaming service that they're going along with, they wanted to own all that intellectual property. That was one thing that the LFA was unwilling to let go of, and I don't blame them. As a whole, economically, the business is not in the greatest place that it has ever been right now. But hopefully the LFA can go on and find themselves a new landing spot with mass distribution in the way that they did with something like Access TV or with UFC Fight Pass. There's some other names that are already kind of out there that have been discussed in the mix, but all of that is something to be discussed all the way up until there is an actual contract signed and there's an actual deal in place. What I can say is that ESPN Plus is hemorrhaging right now. It's been reported that they have more than 200 plus drop subscriptions since the UFC had their last show, and that was just Saturday. That's already what they've lost in just this small amount of time. The LFA has a massive presence on YouTube. They've also got syndication in a couple of international markets as far as TV rights deals. They'll probably be able to tread water and stay afloat in a couple of those platforms for the time being. They also have shows where they're pretty much a guaranteed hit whenever they go down to Brazil, or especially the network that they've done the most shows in, or the area, I should say, that they've done the most shows in Minnesota at the Mystic Lake Casino. Those are great business spots for them where they are not really going to be taking a loss on the financial side. It just comes back down to getting to a platform where they have massive distribution in the process. In relation to that, though, hopefully these shows that are no longer being carried don't just go away. The other ones in the process. The LFA is the biggest of them that are being that are no longer going to be renewed going into 2026. But again, that's it's just an unfortunate situation that the business as a whole is in, and hopefully they get picked up by a bigger network out there. Next round.
Paul is set to take on Anthony Joshua this weekend. That'll be on Netflix. Will you be watching?
No. I mean, I'll watch clips, but not live. Yeah, I just don't. I don't know. I don't know if Jake Paul and this Anthony Joshua fight. I mean, Anthony Joshua is at his later 30s now at this point. He should handle business. If not, then, smell some things with skeptical hippo eyes in the process. Next round.
Bo Nickel out against Yoel Romero. Pat Downey has stepped up on short notice for the RAF 4 event. What are your thoughts?
Man, I love me some PD3. I love Pat Downey, man. That's a guy who he's taken on all challengers, all opportunities in the process. He is a little bit more rough around the edges. He comes from some crazy background and some of the things that happened with Team USA back in the day, but he has always stayed true to who he is. He came out with a statement as soon as this was offered, once Bo was announced being out, to step up and take on Yoel for this opportunity. Said, man, it's crazy to be in the position that I'm in, that your idols someday become your rivals. And he has the chance to go out there against a guy who was an MMA world champion and was an Olympic silver medalist in the process. You have to love seeing that there. Looks like we is Josh still there to maybe try one last time, Danny, to close out the show. Josh, we got you there back?
You unmuted your mic. You got to unmute yourself, Josh.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Little connection failure, but I'm at the house now, so we're definitely.
All right, awesome, man. We'll finish out here with you. So, Josh, just want to ask you, what are some of your thoughts on your opponent, Xavier Vasquez?
From what I see, from what I've heard, he's just a wrestler. He wrestled in college at Northern Colorado. That's primarily how he looks to finish his opponents. Yeah, that's all I can really expect. You know, it's just, can I stop his takedowns and can he take me down? Will you be able to stay on top of me and apply pressure, or are you gonna let me get back to my feet? So it really what it is. Honestly, I don't see him taking me down. But you know, it's a fight. I'm ready to go in there, have some fun.
How do you see the fight playing out?
Um, I see either you know, his takedowns getting stuffed 4, 5, 6 times, however, and then he's just gonna have to figure out and fight me like a man in the middle, and we'll see how that works for him. Because I'm ready to go 3 rounds. I'm ready to go 1 round. You know, wherever it goes. You know, I've been preparing this for quite a long time, and I'm excited to be on a bigger stage and in front of a lot of people, and I'm excited.
Is there any message that you have for your opponent?
Nah, no message for him. You know what I'm saying? It's been all respectful. It's, you know, no trash talk needed, but you know, just come to play, cause I'll be there tomorrow. I'm sorry, Saturday, and
Awesome.
it's gonna be a lot different from what you see on Instagram than when you're in there with me for 3 rounds. So
We'll put there. Now, Josh, I want to ask you this one last question before we head off. Folks, we're wrapping things up here with Josh Mercado, the Relentless. He's going to be the other half of our main event on Saturday for Colorado Combat Club 27. Is there any song, a quote, maybe a song lyric just itself, or a saying, Bible passage, anything along those lines that tells the tale of Josh for this camp?
not no really quotes that really you know, really represent me. Just one thing I stand on is hard work ethic, you know, and just showing up for myself every day, and showing y'all the man I am Saturday night.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us here along. I know we dealt with a little bit of tech issues there, but thank you for sticking along in the process
Hey,
and
and
being able to figure things out.
hey, one more thing. Shout out to my dog PD3. It's been a minute, but you know, we go way back. We used to live together in Little Haiti. He taught me how to wrestle a little bit, so you know, we'll see.
Things come full circle, right? We just got done
Yes,
talking
they
about
do.
PD3. You got the connection right there. Is there anybody else that you want to give a shout out to on the way out here, Josh?
Yeah. A lot of my training partners, Mickey Gall, helped a lot for me. Art, actually one of the guys that got me this fight out here after my fight fell through with a Flex fighting series. So I was excited to get a quick turnaround, even though I didn't fight. Ended up just being a grappling match. Um, so yeah. My coaches Drew, Travis, Roger Crawl at ATT Sunrise, and just everyone who helped me prepare for this moment. My family. Um, yeah. I'm just excited to put on the show for y'all. Aurora, Colorado, main event, man. I'm locked in.
Nice. We got some different degrees of separation there. I worked a show out in Vegas a couple months back with Mickey's sister for Baroque and
Nice.
XFC. So yeah,
Yes,
kind
sir.
of crazy world connections that are out there.
I think I might. Are you referring to the XFC
Yep.
card that was in Vegas in August?
Yeah, September.
A lot of things felt. But yeah, I'm just enjoying.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for taking the time here along with us. We will see you on Saturday for that fight in the main event. I'll also be there on weigh-ins on Friday. But Matt, thank you so much for taking the time along with us here today. Folks, that wraps it up here for us this week at the MMA Plug on Mile High Sports. Just want to say thank you to each of our guests here on the program for the week. That was the Relentless Josh Mercado as well as Xavier Vasquez. They will be that main event for this weekend at Colorado Combat Club 27, going down at the Stampede, 2430 South Havana Street. Doors are cracking at 12. Fights are going to be starting at 1. Want to give a massive shout out to my man Danny Bailey behind the boards, holding it down for me all week, every week. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. I'm Jordan Kurtz. Give me a follow. Comments from the Peanut Gallery. This is the MMA Plug presented to you by Mile High Sports.